In today's video, we're going to be talking about news that we've got on the Mavic 4. We've also got information potentially about the Mini 5, and we've got developments from DJI as it relates to both their geofencing update and the ban that is coming. And the last time that I talked about the ban, I was here in San Diego, so I thought, what a better place to tell you about developments on the ban. So once again, the amazing Jasper Ellens has come through to deliver some new photos of the Mavic 4, this time on the production line. Looks like we've got a couple of different DJI drones being worked on in this shot. As we get more and more leaks out of DJI about this product, it's becoming clearer and clearer that this design philosophy, design idea is locked in. We're not seeing any changes or differences in this design. It's pretty much been looking like this for months. So now the question is, when will we be seeing it? And I'm still bidding on March or April for the Mavic 4, at least for an international release. Not sure when we would be seeing it here in the US. One other thing that we've been hearing just a little bit of kind of chatter about is the potential for a Mini 5, where a number of leakers have been using a specific time frame. It's been quite some time since we saw an update to the Mini line, and the time frame that we've been hearing is somewhere along the kind of September. That feels like it is in line with a comment that Jasper Ellens just made over on Twitter, responding to a comment about a missing Mini 5, that it hasn't been 8 months yet. I am kind of curious, considering the fact that we've seen the Flip and we've seen the Neo, what would a Mini 5 bring? To be quite honest, I'm more interested in the rumors that we have of an Air 4, with the potential for a larger sensor, more improvement, and some of the ergonomic changes that we're seeing in the Mavic on the airline. That actually sounds like a very intriguing proposition. But the most interesting bit of news that I think we've seen this week out of DJI was an interview that they gave to TheVerge.com talking about the removal of their geofencing and the fight that they are looking at, this uphill battle that they're going to have against US bureaucracy and trying to convince them not to put them on the ban list. So TheVerge.com sat down with DJI's head of global policy, Adam Welsh, and asked him some pretty pointed questions about the change to their geofencing system and to the work that they're going to have to do to fight this potential ban. And while DJI continues to attest that the change in geofencing is completely disconnected from really anything related to their political work that they're going to have to be doing and lobbying here in the US to avoid the ban, it does come at kind of a conspicuous time as the transition of administrations happens. And I think Sean Hollister did a pretty good job of trying to pin him on that question. So what does this kind of a change mean for DJI, and why would they make it now? And Welsh admitted that making a change like this now, especially after this system has been in place for a decade, is gonna rile some feathers no matter when they do it. But he and DJI claims that there's both a significant cost savings for them while also improving the experience for drone flyers. Because as one of the examples that Welsh gives, there were times where first responders were trying to get drones in the air, and potentially in addition to getting FAA or LANC approval, they also had to get it into the DJI system, and they had to literally get their remote controllers to allow the drones to fly. Which, if you've ever been in that situation, especially if what the drone controller or the map that DJI provides you is wrong, you can kind of understand where that can get really frustrating. A less life-threatening example that he gave was roof surveys. If you're trying to do a roof survey and you get approval from the FAA because you're in maybe an urban area where the map is locked, you might also have to get approval from DJI to get your drone to fly, which means that you would potentially be locked out of doing business. Now, while I don't necessarily disagree with that, and those reasons all seem pretty valid, it doesn't change the fact that this is probably the absolute worst possible time for DJI to be doing anything that ruffles feathers right now. But the other thing pointed out in the article is the fact that, well, there's a clock running on DJI right now. In December 2024, the National Defense Appropriations Act included a provision in it that requires all federal agencies, or some federal agency, to take up the job of reviewing whether or not DJI is a safety risk from the standpoint of being a Chinese-based manufacturer of drones, and whether or not the images and flight data and whatever else could potentially be used to harm the United States. Whether you agree with that position or not, whether you love DJI or hate them, this is real, and it's a mechanism that DJI has to contend with. The clock is running. they only have so much time to respond. And it almost seems like they're the ones responsible for trying to find an agency that would be willing to do this review. So while they admit that they recognize the need to get this done and that this clock is ticking, they also appreciate the scrutiny and they welcome the security investigation. They seem pretty confident that if and when a risk assessment is done, that they're going to pass with flying colors. But who's going to do the risk assessment? One thing that Welsh made really clear was that they have both congressional and departmental relations teams that are working on this issue, and hopefully they can levy Congress or one of these departments to take up the fight. They're also aware of end users like all of us that are contacting their representatives to try to get this taken up, and they expect about an 8 to 9 month time frame that this would potentially be something that could be looked at, considering the time that it's going to take for the Trump administration to kind of fully form through the appointments process. But I will say this from the interview is that they are definitely not shying away from the idea that this could happen. And that if it does, it will significantly impact DJI's ability to bring new products to the United States. Really, it'll just eliminate that ability altogether. When asked, well, what happens in the event of a ban, Welsh was honest and said, well, products that have already been approved in the United States would continue to be sold, and products that are new would be sold elsewhere and wouldn't be available for flying here in the United States. Now, obviously, that's not what they're hoping for or expecting, but they are prepared for it. And DJI indicates that, honestly, they'll be okay in the event that they're not able to bring new products to the United States. And there is the potential down the road, in the event of a ban, that they would be able to lobby to have it removed or curtailed, or to have carve-outs for certain products or markets. But this is a continuously evolving and complicated situation, especially when you think about the ongoing politics with tariffs and other departments and their internal policies as it relates to DJI and other Chinese drone manufacturers. And again, wherever you land on this politically and however you feel about China and security and privacy and all these potential risks, at the end of the day, this does potentially hurt the US consumer, even if you believe that the risk is worth the reward, or vice versa. If you're someone who is planning to or hoping to be able to upgrade to the latest and greatest technology from DJI in the future, you may not have that ability, and that's really what this means. But DJI hopes that they'll be able to, through their lobbying efforts, that they'll be able to find an agency to take up this risk assessment, that they will come through with flying colors, as they're very confident that they will, and that at the end of the day, they will be able to continue selling the latest drone technology to consumers and to markets here in the United States. But we'll see what happens. I'll continue giving you as much information as I can when it happens. Thanks again to Jasper Ellens and the other folks over on X who provide me with some of the wonderful rumors and photos and all of that I present to you. I've got a link down below to his and other profiles that you should be checking out periodically if you're interested in this kind of stuff. I've also got all of my social links down below and links to all the gear that I use. If you're looking to support the channel, obviously I've got memberships open, and the best and easiest way that you can support the channel is by hitting the subscribe button, hitting the like button, and sharing this video. But that's it for me. I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here because it is getting very dark and I'm shooting at like 6400 ISO. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.